that are at least free and fair. Don't listen to people who make all kinds of noises about, look, Zimbabwe is not ready and all kinds of things. It's politics. They're playing politics. That is obviously not the reality on the ground. Those are people who have not even a single policy to show for their being in the unity government, people who promised to create millions of jobs, people who promised to bring in billions of dollars in foreign direct investment, but who have absolutely nothing to show for their promises. So don't listen to them. I think it's appreciated even by our critics abroad that we are a peaceful country, that we've made a lot of progress in making sure that we have elections that are free and fair.
So that's all that determines that we are ready for the elections?
Precisely. Our conditions are conducive. We have a new constitution now. President Robert Mugabe signed it into law yesterday. That was the major thing. That is what SADC said the parties to the coalition government must preoccupy themselves with. That is now out of the way. We have done that. We are now ready to participate in elections.
And also I understand that there are some sections that are now operational since the constitution has been signed. Which others, and also why?
Those are sections relating to the conduct of elections. It's important that those are implemented straight away for purposes of making sure that our elections are free and fair, for purposes of making sure that we also take into account concerns of the MDCT, which has been saying, look, we need the security sector to abide by the constitution and all kinds of things. That is all there, and all those things will fall into place immediately after the gazetting of the constitution.
Mm-hmm. But what if some Zimbabweans are still skeptical? Some are not psychologically, maybe it's just because they're not psychologically ready for the elections.
Who would be skeptical? I think my feelings that people are ready. I think the only skeptics are people who will be doing so for purposes of driving their partisan political agendas, when their skepticism obviously is not supported by the facts on the ground. The fact of the matter is we have a new constitution which gives us a roadmap to the conduct of elections that are free and fair. We've done all that is reasonably possible. Other countries, cry for constitutions and all kinds of things, but they never get to have their own constitutions. We have done that in coalition circumstances. We've worked with people who have sold out, basically people who want to put ahead the interests of Western people ahead of the interests of our people. But we've done that, and I think it's generally appreciated that we've done a lot to make sure that we have elections that are free and fair.
So what is your advice to the nation now that the new constitution has been signed?
People need to go out and vote. People need to go out and register initially to vote. And then on election day, we need people to come out in huge numbers to go out and vote. And they must vote on the basis of people's record on the last 4 years. The record that we've seen, for example, of ZANU-PF is a record of indigenization, a record of empowerment of indigenization, where over 60 community share trusts have been launched, where $5 million, for example, has been disbursed through youth funds from Stanbic, 3 million cabs. They must also look at the record of the MDCT, which is a shameful record, a record of corruption, a record of thievery, a record of people, looking after their own selfish personal interests.
Well, thank you so much for coming to Good Morning Zimbabwe. A political analyst, Mr. Psychology Maziwisa. Yesterday, they had a state and government and commander-in-chief after Zimbabwe Defense Forces President Robert Mugabe signed the constitutional bill into the supreme law of the land. He was just giving us an insight into the benefits of this development. We'll continue with early news. They had a state and government and commander-in-chief after Zimbabwe Defense Forces President Robert Mugabe has appointed 2 Supreme Court judges.
The 2 judges appointed by President Mugabe to the Supreme Court are Justice Bharat Patel and Justice Ben Hlachiwayo. The swearing ceremony of the 2 new Supreme Court judges took place at State House and was graced by the Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs, Comrade Patrick Chinamasa, Attorney General Johannes Tomana, Chief Justice Godfrey Chijikausiku, and other top government officials. The 2 judges pledged to serve the country without fear or favor.
And bear true allegiance to Zimbabwe and observe the laws of Zimbabwe. I, Ben Hlachiwayo, do solemnly affirm that
I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Zimbabwe and observe the laws of Zimbabwe.
The appointment of 2 more Supreme Court judges is in line with the new constitution, which extended the Supreme Court bench from 7 to 9 judges. Tendai Munengwa, ZBC News, State House.
The visiting Chinese Vice Premier, Mr. Wang Yang, who met President Robert Mugabe yesterday, says his country is ready to strengthen and widen cooperation with Zimbabwe.
With President Robert Mugabe, Mr. Wang said Chinese business people are still keen to widen areas of cooperation in the area of dam construction, irrigation development, and road construction.
We will strengthen cooperation in such areas of agriculture, infrastructure, development, water resources, education, health, etc.
The Chinese Vice Premier says he wants his country to continue strengthening ties with Zimbabwe in more sectors.
The President was explaining about our infrastructure, that our roads are not too good, they are not friendly, and now that he's traveling to Nyanga, he was explaining that that road is not too good, so we would want to widen our roads.
Mr. Wang, who is accompanied by the Deputy Ministers of Agriculture and Commerce from China, briefed Comrade Mugabe on the various agreements signed between China and Zimbabwe during the current visit. Judith Makwanya, Zbc News, Harare.
The ZANU-PF Libero has declared the late retired General and First Matabeleland North Governor, Ambassador Jevan Masego, a national hero.
The ZANU-PF Secretary for Information and Publicity, Comrade Rugare Gumbo, walks us through what the Politburo discussed. Among some of the things is that the late Zbc commander, Major General Jevan Maseko, who became at one time governor of Matabeleland North, ambassador to Cuba, ambassador to Algeria, has been declared a national hero.
Jevan Maseko, he has been unanimously declared a national hero. He will be buried on Sunday.
Comrade Gumbo also touched on the party business, realizing that there is an issue concerning the Women's League and the legal committee of the party. He walks us through on that.
We have decided that they should go in the align the two proposals, the Women's League and the committee, the legal committee, which they hammered out the rules and regulations. So we are not through yet.
Those people who are out there already campaigning on a ZANU-PF ticket have to wait. They just have to wait a bit in order to adhere to the rules and regulations of the party. Probably they might not qualify to do what they're doing.
You know, you may spend your money and you are told you don't qualify. So what is the use of you running around, campaigning when the rules and regulations are not yet out?
So you heard it. That is the ZANU-PF Politburo. Ruben Barwe, Zbc News, Harare.
The ZANU-PF leadership in Matabeleland North Province has expressed a shock at the death of former Matabeleland North Governor and Resident Minister, retired General Jevan Maseko, who died in Bulawayo on Monday. For this morning and Good Morning Zimbabwe. Join us shortly. We've got Business Breakfast, sports news and more guests in the studio. Join us in a moment.